question that I get asked all the time are what kind of exercises, specifically stretches, can I do for hiking, walking, running to loosen up my body and get things a little bit more mobile? It's important to think about what joints are affected, what joints need to be loosened, what body parts need to really be concentrated on when it comes to any of these activities. And I have definitely specific exercises that I find most important to help balance the body out, to help keep everything mobile, but also to help increase the overall activity and possibilities of the activity that you are getting involved in. So I'm going to break this up into two. First one being a pre-workout, a pre-stretch session, and the second one being a post-stretch session. Now the reality is you can really do either one of them or both of them, pre and post, but I like to just show the difference because pre-exercise, pre-activity, we want to do things where we are doing more movement stretching rather than a lot of static hold stretching. Static hold stretching is great for post-activity. However, ultimately, you can do a combination of both of them, pre and post activity. So let's get started and I will show you exactly what I would recommend for you. We're going to start by going onto all fours. And we're going to take it into a nice flow of a child's pose, going all the way into a press over. This is all about opening up those hips and those shoulders and getting you prepared for your activity. Slowly moving those hips down towards the heels of whatever is comfortable for you and pushing up over top into those wrists and then slowly starting to move into a low back extension. Being sure to round through the spine through the entire move. Almost incorporating a cat camel as you move through this entire positioning. You can do anywhere from 5 to 10 repetitions, whatever feels good for your body. But as soon as you're done, you're going to drop into that child's pose and walk those hands over to one side. So we're really stretching out the hips and the back, but we're also stretching out the lats and the shoulders. Making sure that you're pressing the chest down towards the floor, towards your knees. And holding each side for about 15 to 20 seconds. Walking those hands to the opposite side and pressing down into that opposite side stretch. From this position, we're going to move into a position to stretch out our feet and our upper back and chest muscles. So curling those toes under and sitting on the heels to whatever comfortability level is good for you. You're going to perform a cat camel of the upper body. So stretching and rounding that upper back and then pulling and arching from the low back, squeezing the shoulder blades together to fully get a complete movement of that spine, especially the upper spine. Again, performing anywhere from 5 to 10 repetitions to try to open up and flow through those muscles. We're also focusing on low back mobility in that part of the move. Now you're going to uncurl the toes and come up onto the knees. We're going to focus on stretching out those hips. We're going to focus on stretching out the arms as well. So pushing those hips up towards the front of the room, lifting the arms up Stretching and reaching as high as you can as you push those hips straight forward. Again, doing about 10 repetitions here or until you feel that your body has loosened up in this part of the exercise. We're going to now take it into a half kneeling position, making sure that you rotate the hips forward to really stretch out that front part of your hip. To get a little extra of the lat and the upper back and the shoulder, you're going to lift that outside arm up, leaning into that front knee, keeping the belly pulled in tight, and feeling that full stretch coming out of the kneeling side and that entire side of the torso. We're going to now bring the hands down to the floor and go a flow from kneeling, like a runner's lunge, pulling it back into a half split. You can go as low as you choose in this half split, staying up high if that feels better for you and your flexibility, or dropping lower into a seated position. Remember, depending on your flexibility, you may need to keep that knee a little bit more bent throughout this move, and that is totally fine. Again, repetitions can be anywhere from 5 to 10 repetitions, just depending on what you feel that your body needs. As you're pressing into that lunge, dropping those hips down and really focusing on opening up those hip flexors. We're going to move to the other side, the exact same thing. Again, adding that little pelvic tilt to open up that hip flexor on the left side, dropping into that right knee and pulling that left arm up overhead, getting a good stretch coming down the entire left side of your body. Making sure that that knee stays behind the toes. And when you bring your hands down to the ground, dropping into that lunge to whatever feels comfortable for your body. I like bringing my hands on the inside of my knee, but you can easily bring them on the outside of the knee or encompassing the knee altogether. That is up to you and your flexibility. Again, in that half split, just dropping down to whatever feels good. It is all about stretching out your hamstrings in the amount that your body is needed and able to do. Now we're going to move into opening up the inner thighs, extending one leg straight out and staying in that opposite knee bent position. We're going to take it into a moving side lunge, side kneeling lunge. So as you drop those hips down, pulling the abs in, allowing your hips to drop back, and as you come up, pushing those hips straight forward, pulling into the hip flexors and the inner thighs. You can allow the hands to be where they need to be for balance. So either putting them onto the ground for extra support, or you can keep them on your hips if you want a little bit more balance work in this and to not have as much support throughout the move. Again, repetitions anywhere from 5 to 10 on each side. We're going to repeat on the other side. We're working that hip flexor. So allowing yourself to drop back and push those hips forward, really stretching out the hip flexor of that left knee in this position, but also the inner thigh, the hip ab or adductors as you go into that upright position. Now we're going to take it into a seated position to really isolate into the hips. So bring your legs into a 90-degree knee bend. And as you do, we're going to slowly start to switch and change directions. The key here is keeping your heels dug into the ground and keeping your hips stationary. So maybe putting those hands back beside your hips, keeping your upper body sitting nice and tall as you lift one knee and switch to the other side, having opposite knee to follow you. You should really feel this in the hips and in the torso as you are switching back and forth. Hip flexibility is so critical when you're doing any of that movement activity. We're going to start laying on your back, pulling both knees into the chest. Drop your left leg straight down in front of you, pulling that right knee into the chest. And you can choose to maybe do some ankle circles or ankle pumps just to work out some of the kinks in the ankles. Pull that right knee out to the side and maybe take that left hand and just drop it onto your left hip so that left hip does not rotate and pull upwards. You're then going to take it into a low back twist, taking the right knee, dropping it across the body and opening up the upper body, right arm stretching out beside you. Now that left leg, you can keep it straight just like it was prior, or you can pull it up and just lock that right knee over top and under the left knee to give a little bit of an extra twist coming out of your low back. I like taking my left hand and putting it onto my right thigh just to pull that down and add a little extra twist in. Roll back onto your back and let's stretch the hamstring out. You're going to take your hands and bring it around the right leg, anywhere that feels right for you. It could be in your calf muscle, it could be around your thigh, wherever it feels most comfortable. Left leg can either be bent or straight. That right knee, that right leg, depending on your flexibility, you can do a few knee pumps to pull and to add a little bit more flexibility if that feels good for you. We're then going to cross that right leg over the left and give it a little bit of a push with our right hand. Pushing that knee, that thigh away from us to get a good stretch coming in through the hip. Make sure both shoulders are laying on the ground. We're then going to wrap those arms in around that left leg and take it into a figure 4 stretch. So pulling that knee in towards the chest while you do a little bit of a push away with that right leg. I always like to just shimmy my hips back and forth just a little bit to find the spot that is the most tight. And when I do, I will stick there for the entire stretch. All of these stretches, you can hold them for anywhere from 15 to 30 seconds to get a good deep stretch. Pull both knees back into the chest, and then we're going to repeat on the opposite side, stretching out that right leg, pulling that left knee in, and maybe doing some of those ankle pumps or ankle circles. Let's take that left knee and now drop it out to the side, taking your right hand, putting it onto that right hip, and just adding a little bit of pressure to help hold that hip down. And then we're going to move over into that low back twist, taking the left knee, dropping it across the body, opening up that left arm and trying to straighten it out beside you, keeping both shoulders as much as you can down onto the ground. Again, you can choose where the right leg lays. You can choose where you want that to lay, either up so that you're adding a little bit of an extra torquing motion or keeping it straight down in front of you. Really feeling this throughout the entire lower back and allowing your body to just relax in the position. We're going to take it back into that hamstring opposite side. Again, choosing where you have your right leg either bent or straight, and then taking your hands and bringing it around that left leg as you pull that leg in towards the chest, maybe adding a little bit of a knee bend in and out to add a little bit more flexibility into this move. You can keep your knee bent in any amount that you need as long as you're getting a good stretch in your hamstring. We're going to then cross that left leg over the right bent knee and take your left hand and push that left inner thigh, the left knee area away from the body. Getting that stretch coming out of that left hip, allowing the rest of your body to just relax in this position as you are pushing that knee away. Taking it into the figure four, wrapping those arms in around that right leg, maybe shimming those hips back and forth to find the tight spot as you add a little bit of torque of that left hip, pulling maybe that right ankle towards you, pushing maybe into that left inner thigh to get that deeper stretch. Again, here you can do some ankle circles with that right ankle to really sink into the extra movements. Pull both knees into the chest and then roll over onto all fours. We're going to take it into just a few cat camels in this position. Dropping the belly and then arching the back, really moving throughout both flexion and extension of that spine. After a few repetitions, I want to take it into a press up and really focus on that spine movement. You can press all the way up, or you can take it into that little bit of an elbow press, just a prone on elbows if that feels better for your back and your body. You choose what's best for you. If this hurts in the back at all, you have gone too far. Push yourself back onto all fours and move into that child's pose once again. This time keeping your arms straight ahead and really getting that deep stretch by pushing your chest down towards the floor and your knees. Rounding yourself up, we're going to bring it into a kneeling position so we can start to open up the chest and the shoulder muscles. Move out into a bent position, but spread your arms out so that you can start to work the chest and the shoulders. Slowly dropping the chest and the inner shoulder, the front shoulder, down to the ground and allowing the body to twist gently and smoothly through that motion. Keeping the belly in tight to support your low back here and making sure that this does not hurt the neck or the shoulder. You can do anywhere from 5 to 10 repetitions on each side, really whatever feels best for your body. Now we want to get deeper into the chest and the neck. So bring yourself back into that original position from the pre-stretch exercises and fold those toes under to really dig deep into those soles, into the feet. You're going to take one arm, bring it onto the side of your head, pulling gently over to stretch out the neck muscles. I like to wrap my opposite arm back behind my back in order to help really stretch and lengthen those neck muscles. Holding for 15 to 20 seconds or 15 to 30 seconds, whatever feels best for you, you're then going to change to the other side. Sometimes you have to move your head forward or back a little bit to try to find where your tight spot is. So play with this because your tight spot may change. Maybe add some shoulder rolls in, roll the neck a little bit, whatever feels best for your body. We're going to take it into a low back stretch and also focusing onto those shoulders. So I love this thread the needle. You're going to take one arm in this position right now. We're taking the left arm and threading the needle all the way through and under the body. You can keep the right hand onto the ground, or if you want that little extra, wrap the right arm up and bind it around the low back. Now you will be on your neck a little and your head a little at this point. So if this hurts your neck or your shoulder or any part of your body, please come out of that position and just keep that hand onto the ground. Hold for about 15 to 30 seconds, and then you're going to switch to the other side. Threading the needle, right arm goes all the way through and under your body. And then bringing that left arm either on the floor for support or wrapping it up and around to get that little extra bind. Again, you choose what feels best for you. Return that hand back to the ground if it wasn't there already, and bring yourself into a seated position. We're going to take it into that classic butterfly. So bringing the soles of the feet together, sitting up nice and tall, you're going to slightly lean from the hips forward. Now, if that feels a little too much and you feel like you get a good enough stretch just sitting up tall, then stay there. But if you can, lean from those hips, lean forward slightly. I like to put a little pressure from my elbows on my inner thighs just to add the deeper stretch. You're then going to extend one leg out. Let's start with the right leg. Extend one leg out. Sitting up tall, you're going to turn from the torso and lean straight from the hips over top of that right outstretched leg. Again, going as far as your body is okay with. If you need to bend the knee a little bit, that is totally fine. Roll yourself up and let's switch sides. Bend that right leg now, bring it to the inner thigh of your left outstretched leg. And same thing, you're going to turn that torso to face the leg, and from the hips, lean down, getting a deep stretch coming through your hamstrings and your inner thighs. Only going as far as your body will allow you to, and you can keep that knee bent if you need to for your flexibility possibilities. We're then going to take it back to one of the exercises that we did in the pre-stretches. That is that runner's lunge or that low lunge, whatever you want to call it, with the upper arm stretch. So leaning into that front knee, making sure knees behind your toes, lifting and keeping that right arm straight up overhead as you lift overhead, getting a good stretch coming down the side of your body. Holding that one, we're going to keep that static, holding that one for 15 to 30 seconds, and then shifting to the other side, the exact same thing. I hope that this helped you to understand what some different exercises are that can help you pre and post activity, but to also give you a little bit of a flow to go through along with me so that you're hitting all of the really important body parts to keep them nice and loose, to keep you more injury free, and to also just make your activities so much more enjoyable.